This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our palette knife flower series. In this video, we're doing a basic floral palette knife design that's easily replicated. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We're going to mix several colors for this lovely little palette knife flower cake, and we're going to start out with 2 shades of pink that we're going to mix in the same bowl. We're using American style buttercream. You can use whichever kind you prefer as long as it chills and gets firm in the fridge. We're using the following liquid gel colors: neon bright pink, lemon yellow, red, royal blue, and finally, just a touch of violet. To start with, we're going to make 2 shades of pink, and I'm going to start with the lighter one. I'm just going to put a nice drop of that neon bright pink in there, and I've got a tiny bit of purple out on my lid because I want to use it in smaller quantities, and I'm just going to use a toothpick to put in a few little dabs. And this should give us kind of a nice mauve shade. Oh, look at that. It's already looking lovely. Beautiful. And you don't need a ton of every color. So a lot of times I just like to put some buttercream in a bowl and then take half of it, scoop it over to the side, and I'm going to make some darker color over here because we're not going to make a ton of flowers. We're just going to do some nice little practice. And then I'm just going to go in and add a drop of red, another pink, and a few specks of that purple. So it's essentially going to be a darker shade of the same or a similar hue. Just added a little bit of that red in there, and that should give it a bit of a kind of burgundy vibe. Make it nice and beautiful. And if you need to, you can always adjust the color, add more, add less, but I think this is a nice kind of like dark mauve. You can see there's some real distance between the shades, so they look different, but maybe not quite enough yet. We really want them to stand out. So if you need to, add a little more color, because we want these colors, when they're placed next to each other, to really read differently, like light and dark. So sometimes I find mixing them in the same bowl like this or right next to each other, you can take a little out, put it in a container, whatever you need to do if your bowl's not big enough, just to make sure you have it there for comparison, so you make sure that those colors really read well next to each other. And I think that's looking beautiful. Next, we're going to make a little yellow. And we're also going to make some green in this bowl. So we're going to do the same thing we did with our pink. I'm going to start out by making my yellow and then use that as the base for the green. And I'll just move a little aside. And I want a little of this yellow to help like create a center in the flower and also create some color variation in the leaves that I'm going to make. So I want something lighter that I can blend into the darker green that we're going to make in just a moment. And I like where that's going. I'm just going to add the tiniest little touch of purple so that all of our colors kind of have a common thread. Might need just a tiny bit more. Sometimes when I'm trying to do those very little specks, I go just a little too subtle. But less is always better because you can always add more and keep mixing. That's great. It gives it kind of a mustardy vibe. So I'm just going to take some of that, swipe it over there, get the rest of it over on this side, and we're going to make a nice kind of foresty green shade over here. Don't need too much of that yellow. So to this, I'm just going to add a little bit of blue because it's not a lot of color. A little more yellow, and then a healthy dose of that purple. Give it a mix around, see what it looks like, and then we'll add more if needed. Because we're not really adding to a lot of buttercream. You don't want to go too heavy, especially with drops to begin with, because you can get into very, very dark, very oversaturated territory very quickly. And I think maybe just adding a little more of that purple is going to do it. There we go. That gives us a nice, beautiful shade that's going to blend well with the yellow that we made. We're also going to blend it with some white as well, and it's really going to pop against those pinks that we created. We're going to briefly talk about the palette knives that we're going to use for this cake, since they're a little bit different than your normal tools. And we're going to use two diamond-shaped ones and one that I call a shovel shape. If you don't have this one, you could also use an oval. The first is a larger diamond shape palette knife, and you can see it's got a nice little offset to that handle, and that's going to allow us to put our little petals on really easily. It's going to give us a nice hand position. The second is a smaller diamond shape. You can see it's got that same offset to the handle, and it's just a smaller version of the one before. That's going to allow us to make smaller petals and leaves. And the final one we're going to use is what I call kind of a shovel shape. You'll notice it has like a tab shape to this blade. It's curved at the end, that nice soft curve. We're going to use this to make some really beautiful broad petals. So if you don't have one like this, if you've got one that's a nice soft oval shape, that would work as well. Now, if you don't have palette knives and you want to give this cake a try, you can use some things that you probably have on hand, namely some of your small offset spatulas. You can use a tapered one in place of the diamond-shaped palette knives, and you can use that regular flat one for your shovel-shaped one because it has that flat blade with the curve in the end. You'll have to do just a little more work, but you can achieve a really similar effect with tools you most likely already have on hand. We've prepared two color palettes really quickly for our project. The first one has our pinks on it, which is going to be for our petals. And you can see I have my darker shade and my lighter shade, and just a little white to pull into each play, mix around with while I'm working. And I've got mine on a little piece of plexi. You can really use anything that's kind of inert. I don't want to put it on something like marble that's going to stay cold, that'll chill my buttercream. I want something that won't change the temperature of this and allow me to work with it easily because we need this buttercream nice and warm and soft. And I've done the same thing with the colors for my leaves. So it's on a nice little rectangle of plexi. And you can see I've got my green, my yellow, a nice space to work with, and a little bit of white over there to pull into both. Let's review the techniques that we're going to use to make our palette knife flower cake. I'm going to start off with my shovel-shaped knife. And for these wide petals, we're going to load up on the back of this knife, and we're going to use a nice soft arc motion. So I just want to practice that really quickly. We want to get some buttercream right there on the back. You can see, nice little round pill. And we just want to go in a nice soft arc motion. And you can see that gives us a nice little ridge, it gives us some nice coverage, and we get a beautiful little shape to that. So just practice it a little bit on a tray, on a cake board, something, till you get the hang of it. We're also going to do some small, what I call tab style petals. We're going to use that same shovel shaped palette knife, and you can see I've loaded it up on the back. And we're going to pull from the outer edge of where we want the petal to be. So think about the outside edge of the petal, and you pull towards the center of your flower, whatever direction that is. And I'm just going to do a little sample right here. So you can see it digs into that nice little roll and gives us a nice little petal that has a little depth and kind of curl to the edges and back. Additionally, for our flowers, we're going to do some small swipes. Not really much else to call them. I'm going to use the small diamond-shaped palette knife to do this. And you can see I've got my frosting loaded up on the back. And all we're gonna do is pull towards the center, and that's gonna give us some little smaller petals. And then for the swirls, what we're gonna do is load up just like we did. We're gonna kind of hold there in the center, and we'll use the turntable and spin, and that's gonna create a little kind of swirl-like divot if we need it in the middle, just to finish off our flower. For our leaves, we're gonna use our diamond-shaped palette knives, and you can see I've got this one loaded up, so both the small and the large. And to load it up, you want to move some of your buttercream across the surface. In this case, for me, it's my plexi. And then you're going to take that knife, and instead of having it flat to pick up some stuff on the back, we're going to tilt it and move it to one side and then tilt it the other direction. So think about a 45-degree angle and slide it back. And that's what is going to allow you to build up those nice kind of pill-shaped rolls that we can then press into and pull through to create some leaves. So the idea here is we're pushing down and pulling through. There we go. You can see I had to hold the paper in place, which you won't have to do for your cake, but that gives us a nice natural leaf shape just by kind of smashing into that buttercream, and then pulling the point through gives you that little divot in the middle, and it gives you the idea of a leaf. So really beautiful, simple, and easy. We've practiced and we're ready to start working on our cake. And you can see here, I've got a nice 6-inch round cake. It's iced in a smooth layer of white frosting. You can do whatever color you want, and I have a few things to help me out. I've just got a little bit of clean paper towel that's damp and a little bit that's dry. That way it's easy for me to clean off my spatulas and dry them between swipes if needed. And I've just got a little toothpick, and I'm gonna mark kind of a little bit of my design just to give myself an idea of where I want to go. So think one big leaf, second, third. I'm going to do a little half blossom, maybe another leaf, a big area to do a nice big rose there. Same thing coming off the other side. Just to kind of get an idea of one, the spacing, but also how things are going to play together and where I want to start them. That way I don't end up with stuff that's too close or too far apart. And I'm going to start with my large diamond-shaped spatula and my green, and I want to make myself a nice kind of dark leaf. So I'm just going to start on the outside edge of my design, kind of both directions, and work towards the middle. So I just want to pull some green over. If you want to, a little dab of another color, just to kind of swirl some in, and then just rock it back and forth, those nice kind of 45-degree angles. And you can see quickly it loads up a nice little pill of frosting there to do a leaf. And we've kind of marked where we want both of those kind of ends of our design to be. And think about it like things that are kind of behind and in front of each other. So if something's behind, it's going to be more in shadow. It's probably going to be darker in color. So just kind of work each one individually, right? Every time I go back to my little palette, I'm loading up my knife. I'm making that nice little pill. And then I'm just going to check my little toothpick marks to make sure I've got my stuff in the right place. Just gentle pressure and push into it. And you can see you get those beautiful leaves. And that's going to be the outside edges of our design. Now we're going to go kind of a little closer to the center. And I just want to take a little yellow, maybe a tiny touch of that white, and just kind of blend a little bit. Don't be afraid to mix your colors up, and they don't have to be super well blended. You don't have to make a new even color. They can kind of be a little bit marbled, right? So don't feel like you have to mix those colors in perfectly together. That variation is what's going to give it some nice interest, some nice variation, some nice color. And we're just going to kind of slowly make a little color for each of these leaves. And I want to do kind of light, medium, and dark. So we'll do a little trio of leaves on each side of this design. Beautiful. So as I go, you can see I add more white and more of that yellow to make lighter and lighter shades. Blend it just a little bit, not completely. And then same motion with that spatula. Just take it side to side. There you go. And get rid of any excess if you need to. And that should allow us to make a beautiful little trio of leaves on each side that has a nice little bit of variation. So you get a kind of bit of a gradient and a bit of variety with really only making, right, 2 colors, and then we're just adding some white. So you can kind of think of it like making base paints, and then you're mixing it with other colors to blend and create a variety of hues and shades for yourself. And just use whatever angle you need to with your spatulas to kind of get in there and make something beautiful. Now that we've got those little trios of leaves, we're going to do some little half blossoms. So I'm just going to briefly clean off the excess color of this, give myself a wipe and a clean, put that to the side, and I'm going to grab my shovel spatula, shovel shaped, wanted to say sized. And I'm just going to pull over some of my darker pink, just kind of smear it out a little bit, maybe get a little bit of that light color in there. And then I'm going to take it, you can see smearing it gives us a little bit on the back, and just dig it in, right? And you can see that picks up a nice little pill of frosting on the end there. And this is what I'm going to use to kind of create some little tab shaped petals. Beautiful. A little more of that light. Just smear it around a bit, flip it over, and run it through. If you want to get it bigger, go through more than one time. And then off to the other side, another little tab. And then finally, some white. Just pull that white in, even lighter. Blend it a little bit and get a nice little tab going. That one's got, there we go. Sometimes I just need to take the little excess off. And you can see that gives us a nice little idea of maybe kind of a blossom that's being viewed from the side. And I'll repeat that over here. So start with my dark. Don't even need to really clean off my spatula. Nice blend of colors is a beautiful thing. Just go till you get a nice little buildup that you like. Dig in and think about it, kind of pulling one to the left, one to the right, and one in the middle on the top, making colors that are kind of light, medium, and dark, so that you get some variety and they stand out next to each other. And you can always make more color if you run out. You can add more white to your palette. Just kind of play with them so you get some nice variety to all these little petals. Beautiful. So we worked with our pink a little bit. We're going to go back to our green, and I'm going to use my small spatula a little bit. So small diamond shaped spatula. I'm going to pull some of my dark color over, grab some of that lighter color that I made before, just blend it together, and we want to put some little leaves on there, maybe a big one. Just to kind of anchor and finish things. So you can see the little ones are a little easier to get in those tight spaces. So we're using the size of the spatula and the difference in the sizes to really kind of help us work our details in there and use those size differences to our advantage in terms of our design. So I'm going to just put some little leaves in there. Just mix, create color as you go. Anytime you need to, if you need to stop and clean up your area, you can always scrape everything to the side and then just start over. But just make sure when you're doing your leaves, just go side to side, get rid of any excess, and build up a nice little pill of frosting for yourself. And you can see we can help shape those flowers too. They look even more like little half blossoms now because we've got that green on there that's giving it that nice little kind of V shape towards the bottom. And just make sure when you're doing things next to each other that they're slightly different values. So think light next to dark, medium shades next to light or dark. But try not to go dark next to dark or light next to light. That will kind of make some of those details get a little bit lost on you. So we've kind of started to build up. We've got some leaves, we've got some little half blossoms. We want to put a big blossom in there, but I also want to make sure that I'm filling things in and really creating kind of a nice backdrop. Think about you're doing the back first and you're working kind of towards the front of something. You really want to build up and put any little leaves or anything else you want in there to start with, because it's not really easy to go back and add things in if you need to later. Once we've already got our big blossom on there, we're not really going to be able to go back and add things in. So if I feel like I need some more green someplace, I'm just going to go ahead and put it, because I'm going to be doing this big round flower right in here, and I feel like I'm going to have some space off to this side. So I want to go in, put in a nice leaf there just to really kind of help anchor things. Get rid of some of that negative space. And I want both sides to kind of be mirror images, but not necessarily perfectly. So let's go spin this around, kind of look at it. Nice big thing. Maybe change the angle a little bit, or even work it in like this. So we go a little bit. So it's a little bit different, but there's also something helping to kind of anchor that area. Beautiful. And you can always take things off too. If you decide you don't like something, or it's in there at a weird angle, or you just want to do it over, you can just lift it off with your spatula. If you need to, add a little more white to the area. Don't be afraid to go back and redo things or add things. Especially some of this might even get covered up by our pink as we go to work on that. But don't be afraid to kind of let it spin. You add a small one over in there just to get some green back there, because I feel like it's going to need it. Now I'm for the most part done with my green, so I'm just going to slide my pink palette forward. And then I'm just going to turn this one around because I might use a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. So I'm going to put my greens to the side and I'm going to start working on my pink. There we go. And if you need to, at this point, if things are feeling a little soft or you're a little unsure about going on top of this green with the pink, you can always pop it in the fridge for 10 minutes, let it chill. These are very thin layers of buttercream, so they'll firm up really fast for you. So you don't really have to worry about that. You can just pop it in the fridge, let it chill, and then pull it back out, and that'll make it easier for you to work on. So I really want to build up the back of this, get a nice big tab there, because we're going to do some nice, big, soft, wide arcing petals. And so I'm going to start right here on this green and just really pull a nice soft arc. There we go. Beautiful. Right? And don't be afraid to play with your petals too. Really kind of just take your time with them. This is not a hard thing to do, but if you rush, I think that's when it starts to get messy on you and it starts to misbehave. So you can see, nice big pill of that dark buttercream. And I'm going to go. Beautiful. And if you get any color that mixes and you want to get rid of that, just really quickly with my little wet paper towel and then with my dry. So you might get some blending and mixing, but it's really easy to get rid of that. So now let's make some medium color because we did some dark. So just pull a little of your light, little of your dark together, blend it a little bit. That should give you a nice in-between shade that you can adjust. Just get some all over the back of that spatula and then just run that tip through it. Gorgeous. And we're just going to start right on top here. So you can see our flower is starting to shape up. So I'm going to do the same thing again. A little bit of dark, a little bit of light, blend it together, coat the back of that spatula, and then run it through. And the bigger the petal I'm trying to create, the more depth I want to give it, the more I want to run it through, the more I want to build up that nice little pill of frosting on the back. So here we go. Beautiful, nice big arching shape, and we want to make sure we're kind of meeting up with our design. So I've got some dark and medium together. I want to make sure I get some light shades in there, so pull over quite a bit of my white and some of my light, and we're going to do the same thing. Nice big pill of frosting. And just go right on top. And you can see we've kind of made a full circle on this blossom. We're gonna now do some smaller ones, same style. So just pull over some of my light color, get that all over the back of the spatula, and keep working. So nice soft arcs. Pull in some white. And load it up. And you can notice I'm doing some inner petals. I'm loading up less, and that's gonna make a nice smaller area. Now, I've been doing some light ones, so I want to make sure I get a little bit of that dark color in there as well too. So pull that over, mix it around, make a slightly kind of lighter shade, and we'll go right in here. So we're building up kind of layers of different color with these nice soft swooping arcs, and you can see it kind of digs in. It gives it a little depth and a little variety, and that helps those petals stand out from each other. So we've got kind of 2 layers of those wide arcing petals. We're now going to do some little tabs, and I'm going to start with a dark one. So pull some of my dark color over, just load it up. And I'm going to start over here where I've got 2 kind of lighter petals next to each other. And I'm just going to start at the outside edge where I want that to be and pull towards the center. Now, pull a little more of my light over, and I'm going to do the same thing. So just make some nice little soft kind of tab petals, pulling towards the center. Try to get different shade for each one that's next to each other so they're not all blending and you don't lose, right, your color. You don't lose that definition, and just pull gently towards the center with each one. So that second layer petal is kind of a lighter shade. I want to pull a little more dark color over. And just like with our leaves, it doesn't have to be fully blended. Beautiful. So you can see that center of that flower is really shaping up. I'm going to clean off my small diamond shaped palette knife, and I'm going to work on my center. So for this, we're going to do some of those little small swipes, and then to finish it, a swirl. And I'll probably blend a little white and yellow together for the swirl. So just like you did with your leaves, we're going kind of 45, 45. I just want to take any excess off the tip. And just make sure you're blending so you're getting some color differences. So some dark, some light, some medium. Beautiful. So you have some like smaller little open petals. I'm just going to clear some space here on my palette. Just get some of that excess color to the side. Clean off my little knife. And I'm going to pull down some white and just a tiny touch of my yellow. And I think just pull, let's see, blend a nice little soft shade. So it has like that hint of kind of like maybe some stamens in the center. And you can even pull some pink onto the side of it too. Make it nice and kind of blurry and beautiful. There we go. That's gorgeous, right? We're going to just kind of dig into the center, swirl it around, and use our turntable to really give us a nice little swoop and swirl there in the center. So think about kind of like digging in the tip and swirling it around. And that's a great little finish. It's simple, it's lovely. It gives us a nice little look there and a little hint of yellow that kind of pulls that green into our beautiful blossom. And there we have a beautiful, simple, and easy to create palette knife floral cake. That's all for this lesson in our easy floral palette knife cake design. If you enjoyed this one, try checking out our simple abstract palette knife design. It's also a nice, easy one if you're just starting to work with your palette knives. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecorating.school.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.